Hello and welcome to our webinar, Upgrading PeopleSoft, Strategies for Successful Modernization and Migration, Advice and Insights for Modernizing Your PeopleSoft Applications. My name is Joe Finlinson, and I am the Chief Technology Officer at Astute Business Solutions, and I will be your webinar host today. We'll jump right in and take a look at our agenda. Our agenda today is to understand how PeopleSoft modernization works, to look at what it takes to plan a successful PeopleSoft modernization, to overcome common roadblocks and pitfalls that people encounter when undertaking their PeopleSoft modernization projects. We're going to take a look at leveraging the benefits of the latest PeopleSoft version. And finally, we're going to close out with some expert advice for successful PeopleSoft migration to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So we'll jump right in with understanding PeopleSoft modernization. I took a little poll around the office and I spoke with several of my coworkers and asked them what PeopleSoft modernization was to them. And as you can see here in this word cloud, they came up with quite a few different ideas. Some thought it was implementations. Some thought that it was about people tools or server replacements or replatforming or re-implementing. As you can see, there are a lot of different ideas around what PeopleSoft modernization could be. And I think one of the first things we have to look at is why is PeopleSoft modernization so important? And as the little pictures show here, I think that what it really comes down to is that it's important because we want to simplify our approach to providing technology to our customers. PeopleSoft has been around for a good long while, and as technology has advanced, we have taken complex solutions and found ways to make them less complex. So we're trying to trend, as that diagram shows, from the left to the right, removing complexity to try and deliver the simplest solution that will actually work for our customers. And the way I think about this is that there are 4 key pillars of PeopleSoft modernization. The first is delivering relevant, agile processes to your stakeholders. I think that we would be remiss if we didn't first and foremost think about the people who use our system day in and day out. Who are our customers? Who are our stakeholders? And what is it that they are expecting from us? I recently had the opportunity to be at a conference, and as I was speaking with people, they kept telling me about how their executives were disappointed with how PeopleSoft looked and how PeopleSoft acted. And to dive a little bit deeper and ask them questions about what they were doing, oftentimes I would find that the PeopleSoft that they were using was the same PeopleSoft that was available 15 years ago. Not saying that they haven't gone through the exercise of upgrading to PeopleSoft 9.2 and occasionally installing the PeopleSoft images, but they're not adopting the changes. They're not adopting the functionality that is being released by the PeopleSoft team. So I think that first and foremost, we need to be thinking about how do we deliver relevant solutions to our customers. Secondly, we want to look at what it takes to keep our system and its data secure. There's a lot to be said about security today. There are lots of good reasons that chief information security officers worry about these things. Your data is incredibly valuable, and it is the lifeblood of your organization. And it's really important that the systems and the infrastructure on which your PeopleSoft systems live is secure. The third is gleaning actionable insight from your data. And I think this is a fun one because for a long time, it was really about just processing data. doing the what needed to be done to gather the data, to put it in the database and keep it in there and spit it back out on a form or whatever it was that we needed. But in recent years, the conversation has changed. It's now, what can I do with my data, and how can my data help me, and how can my data help our organization be a more efficient organization that is getting things done, that is delivering results. A lot of effort has gone into PeopleSoft at this point to help you optimize your reporting. And not just reporting at like a transaction level, but reporting across business units, reporting across business lines, and working to help you find actionable insights. So why might you have high turnover, or why isn't this class popular, or any number of questions that you could ask of the data. I think the PeopleSoft team has done a really good job at finding ways to make the data more accessible. Finally, I think it's really important that we think about modernization in the context of providing flexible and reliable infrastructure. And maybe you can think about that as the right infrastructure at the right size at the right time. A lot of organizations historically have had to plan for their peak usage. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the paradigm of cloud changes it so that you don't have to plan for peak usage. You can plan for your average usage. And then when peak usage comes along, you can use the elasticity of the cloud to scale up your systems, do the work that needs to be done, and then shrink them back down. And by doing that, you save a lot of money. So all of that to be said, I've come up with a working definition of PeopleSoft modernization. It's not perfect, but I think it works pretty well. PeopleSoft modernization is the process of upgrading and optimizing PeopleSoft to enhance performance, user experience, and align with modern technology standards. So next, we're going to think about that modernization in the context of things that you gain from being modern. So benefits of being current. You get enhanced functionality. So each new version of PeopleSoft comes with updated features and functionality, and this provides you with improved capability and tools to streamline your business processes. Security patches and updates. Staying on the latest version ensures that you have access to the most recent security patches and updates, helping protect your system from vulnerabilities and potential cyber threats. Bug fixes and performance improvements. Upgrading to the latest version allows you to take advantage of bug fixes and performance improvements, which can enhance your system capabilities and provide you with a more stable system, which can enhance processes and really provide you with a better experience overall. Compliance with regulatory requirements. Updates in the latest versions often include changes to meet evolving regulatory requirements, ensuring that your organization remains compliant with industry standards and regulations. There are also integration capabilities that have changed throughout the years. We started with flat files, and now we have REST integrations, web services. These are all things that come with being current on the latest PeopleSoft images and tools set. You also get to take advantage of access to new technologies. So PeopleSoft is obviously developed on the Oracle Cloud infrastructure, which is fantastic. And the PeopleSoft team has been looking at ways that they can take advantage of this infrastructure. So they're using the machine learning compute cloud to be able to advise you on how to scale up and down your systems. I think the most notable of the cloud services is that of the Oracle Digital Assistant, which powers Picasso, PeopleSoft's chatbot. Finally, you find that there is long-term product sustainability. Staying current with the latest version ensures that your PeopleSoft implementation remains supported by the vendor in the long term. It helps to future-proof your investment and reduces the risk of running into compatibility issues or becoming outdated. So next, we're going to talk about some of the considerations that you should be thinking about when you're going to modernize your PeopleSoft environment. The first one is business process analysis. You should evaluate existing processes, identify your pain points, and determine areas where you believe you could improve. You should also conduct an honest technology assessment, taking a look at the current infrastructure and software versions, and determine what your requirements are. User experience enhancement is a huge one. You want to improve usability and accessibility and responsiveness. And a lot of this is coming in all of these regular updates. The most recent is that of the Redwood theme, which you can now take advantage of with PeopleTools 8.60. Further, the PeopleSoft team has put a lot of effort into working to streamline transactions, to make them more friendly, to bring things into Fluid so that they can be done on mobile devices. All of this enhances the user experience and provides your customers with an experience, a system that is closer to what they would expect on the consumer internet. You need to think about your integration strategy, evaluating requirements with other enterprise systems, and consider modern integration approaches where appropriate. Data management and analytics. You need to ensure that you have strong data governance, that you understand who is coming into your system and what they're doing with the data. A modernization approach that is often taken is that of trying to cut down on the number of users that have direct access to your PeopleSoft data, because it gives you better control over the performance of the system and also helps you have better security, because you know that people aren't able to just walk off with whatever they can query out of the database. Finally, security and compliance. You need to review your security architecture and ensure compliance with regulations and implement appropriate controls where necessary. So now that we've talked a little bit about what modernization is and how modernization can be approached, we're going to dive a little bit deeper, and we're specifically going to talk about planning for successful PeopleSoft modernization. And we're going to start with a quote by Sun Tzu, who wrote The Art of War in the 5th century BCE. If you are prepared, you shall not fear. And I think that this is not only good advice in war, but good advice in business and in life. If we prepare ourselves well, we don't have anything to fear. So, how do we prepare for the modernization process? Well, it's the stuff you would probably think about. We want to understand what our objectives and our scope are going to be. We want to have some semblance of what our strategy and approach will be. You want to have a rough project plan and timeline, maybe just milestones and an understanding of how long it's going to take for you to get from point A to point B. Clearly, any major modernization process wouldn't be complete if you didn't have strong change management and a user adoption plan. Clearly, you need to think about how you're going to do your data migration and ensure the quality of your data. And finally, you need a solid testing plan. Testing is something that oftentimes people will say, oh, I'm just moving to cloud. I'm not changing the functionality, so I don't need to test as hard. Or maybe they're saying, oh, we're just adding this new piece here. It's not going to affect anything else. So we don't need to test as diligently as maybe we would otherwise. And I think that that's a fallacy. We really need to think about how to validate our system holistically anytime we make changes. And PeopleSoft has done a pretty good job of adding functionality, features to help you with this testing. There are things you can do to turn things off. There are things that you can do to automate your testing with the PeopleSoft test framework, and lots of other approaches that you could take. I think the important thing is that you have a systematic, logical approach for your testing. So once you've kind of got your feet wet and you're thinking about this modernization project, you really need to dive deep and jump in to assess your system requirements and compatibility. You need to identify your stakeholders and engage them from the very, very beginning of your project. You want to gather your business requirements, conducting interviews and workshops. Perhaps you want to use surveys to collect information about the requirements for your project. Really, you should leave no stone unturned as you're looking to gather the business requirements. And then, as we talked about before, you want to analyze your system. You want to understand, how's the current architecture performing? What do the current servers look like? What do we think we would want in a future system? And then, with those three things, with stakeholders and business requirements and an understanding of how things currently operate, you can begin to research what your modernization options could be. You'll explore different options for PeopleSoft, like upgrading to newer versions, moving to the cloud, or maybe replatforming. So once you've researched your options, you probably have some idea of what you want. Then you want to go a layer deeper to understand how what you want is compatible or isn't compatible with your current systems and your current requirements. And coming out of that, you'll get a list of things that fit and a list of things that don't. And when you have that list, you can then conduct a gap analysis where you can figure out the difference between your requirements and the capabilities of your chosen migration approach, modernization approach. From there, you can prioritize and start figuring out how you want to do your implementation. So with all of that, as we talked about how you want to do your implementation, you can develop your modernization roadmap. And so many organizations haven't done the work to do this. And it's something that does require a little bit of time, but it's so worthwhile. So we talked about assessing the current state, defining your modernization goals, prioritizing the initiatives. So sometimes that's a hard conversation with the stakeholders, to actually sit down and say, this is the first thing we need to do, and this is the second, and this is the third, and this other thing over here, we'd really like it, but it's just not going to happen. So you prioritize, you then identify your strategy for implementing, and then you develop a phased approach. So many organizations jump into this sort of thing and think they're going to do it all at once. And those are the projects that surely fail because people get overwhelmed, because they're taking on too much. You need to understand what you can actually do with the resources that you have or that you can pay for, create a realistic plan, execute that, and then take up another project. And of course, everyone needs to be flexible and to be able to monitor and adjust, continuously looking for ways to improve, tracking achievement of milestones, and assess deviations for risk. Regularly review and update your modernization roadmap as needed based on new information or changing priorities. So, with a solid plan in place, we want to talk a little bit about overcoming common roadblocks and pitfalls. So, identifying some common challenges with PeopleSoft modernization projects. I think that the number one, bar none, happens almost everywhere, is system complexity. And if you're not thinking about this correctly, it can just consume your whole project. So dealing with a complex and customized legacy PeopleSoft system is a challenge. And the only way to really be able to do this in a safe and sane way is that you understand what that complexity is. You understand where your customizations are. You understand how integrations work, and you understand the service levels that have been committed to various stakeholders throughout the company. And only then can you jump in and define your plan and appropriately mitigate risk going forward. The next area is around data migration and cleansing. A lot of people tend to think that they can just move data from one place to another, and they're not thinking about line speed. They're not thinking about how they might transfer terabytes and terabytes worth of data. This is a place where a firm like Astute can help a lot, because we've been down the road before. We've seen how people move vast amounts of data. We've approached huge database cutovers and huge middle tier cutovers, huge and small. But someone who's been down that road before can tell you how to approach data migration and cleansing. The next one is business process alignment. You really want to ensure that the modernized PeopleSoft system aligns with your existing business processes and the requirements and effectively supports the most critical workflows. You can't implement a system that isn't going to work for people. If you do that, it's going to fail and you're not going to have the user adoption you want. Which brings us into the next one, is change management. So you need to understand what's changing, how it's going to change, why it's going to change, and then you need to help people through that change process. There is a psychological process that goes along with change, and some people are better at it than others, and some people are tired of change, depending on how your organization works. The thing that's important is that you have a change management plan and that you get people involved early and often, so that they know how things are going to change and why they're going to change, and they understand the benefits that are going to be attained by undertaking this PeopleSoft modernization project. You want to take a close look at your integrations and your interfaces. You need to coordinate closely with third-party systems and with vendors, and any real place that the system where your PeopleSoft system touches another system. This is a place where things can be fragile. And it's important and critical that you have a solid testing plan in place to help you take a look at those things. Finally, as we talked about earlier, performance and scalability is another place where things can really fall over if you haven't thought about what kind of load is going to come where and when it's supposed to hit, and how a system needs to be built to support certain processes. The system can fall over and then people are upset. So it's better to test early and often, and to understand what your system needs to be able to deliver on a regular basis. So some common risks that come up, the first two, project delay and budget overrun, kind of go hand in hand. And what really causes project delay and budget overrun, you either run into technical challenges that you hadn't foreseen, or scope changes, which means that you didn't really do enough pre-planning and thinking about what your modernization project would entail. Those are the two biggest risks. And so the best way to overcome project delay and budget overrun is to do your homework up front. Engage a partner, bring someone like Astute in to workshop with you the approach to changing your system. And when you do that, you'll come out with a better understanding of what it's going to take to run your project. You can set realistic expectations with your stakeholders. You can ensure that you have the budget you need to complete your project. Don't cut yourself short. Another one, if you're not careful with data, is that you could lose data or you could corrupt things. There are lots of tools that are available now to help you ensure that you have a lossless process to move from point A to point B to conduct your upgrades. But again, this is something that a partner can help you with greatly. You need to understand downtime and system disruption and understand when you can make these sorts of changes. It's often a negotiation and a dance between the technical people and the functional people and the customers, and finding the right window is really critical. And even more critical than finding the right window is ensuring that once you undertake the activity, that you are able to successfully complete it in the window that is given you. Security vulnerabilities can suck the life out of any project, And certainly when you're undertaking PeopleSoft modernization, your systems can be more vulnerable because you're changing a lot of things at the same time. So it's really important that you engage your security friends, your security team early and often, bring them in and have them help you ensure that you're delivering the quality and the secure baseline that they're expecting. Finally, we talked about this a little bit before, vendor or tech dependencies. So ensuring that you're set up for your cutover, that your suppliers know what's going to happen, that you've ensured that if there are new IP addresses, that they've been communicated, that ports have been opened, and all of those other things. Those are, classic risks, and a lot of that can just be overcome simply by communicating. So as we talk about what it takes to overcome these pitfalls, just a quick list of classic mitigations. So there's strategy alignment, skill development. So this is the idea that people get worried when you talk about moving to the cloud or doing something that hasn't been done before. If you'll teach them and show them the path forward and show them where they fit in the plan, things are so much better. And it took just a little bit of extra communication, a little bit of extra planning to ensure that people can know what's in it for them. We talked about effective communication. Process documentation is a big one. If you don't have process documentation for your current footprint, I would highly recommend you undertake that adventure. Yes, it takes some time, and yes, there's some investment in it, but it pays huge dividends in the future, because when you then go and transform, or you go to look to do something different, maybe you're even going to replace PeopleSoft at some point. With solid process documentation, you'll understand what your requirements are, why they were implemented the way they were implemented, and you'll have a better ability to reason through changes in the future. So documentation of the current process is important, and also documentation of the current or the future process becomes really important. You need to think about integrations, testing. Again, I'll put in a plug for PTF, the PeopleSoft Test Framework. This is something that every PeopleSoft shop should have. And some shops have really expansive, really in-depth tests, and some shops have lighter tests. But the point is, everyone can have the PeopleSoft Test Framework. It's part of what you pay for with your PeopleSoft license. You just need a little bit of training on it. That's something that Astute can help you with. PTF helps you with your quality. It helps speed you up. It has a very high return on investment. So continuous testing is a great mitigation to risks and issues that can come up. Taking a look at security, we talked about that. And of course, ensuring that your architecture is appropriately optimized. So next up is ensuring business continuity. It goes without saying that when you undertake a PeopleSoft modernization effort, you need to ensure that business can still run. And the best way to do that is to do a business impact assessment. I'm going to change this, and by changing this, it's going to touch these things. And these things have the following service levels tied to them. And this is what we need to do in order to ensure that business can continue to run even though we're making a change. Contingency planning, this is pretty simple. It's the idea that we're going to do A, and if A doesn't work, we're going to do B, and if B doesn't work, we're going to do C. And I think this is something you can push your teams to do. It's certainly something you should push your consultants to do if you've engaged consultants. What if it doesn't work? What are we going to do then? We talked a little bit about project phasing. I can't stress enough that project phasing is the way that you ensure that the team doesn't burn out and that you've changed the right amount at the right time. You've looked at what you can do, what you can afford to do, what you have resources to do, and you do that little bit, and then you iterate and you do more. So project phasing is a great way to ensure that you have business continuity. We talked about communication, we've talked about training, and of course, testing. So next up, we're going to talk a little bit about leveraging the benefits of the latest PeopleSoft releases. And we're going to start with PeopleTools 8.60. And I pulled these right off of my Oracle support. You can see the doc ID down there in the left-hand corner. This is just a listing of a few of the top enhancements that were made available with PeopleTools 8.60. We talked about the Redwood style. They've done a lot to put global search on every single page so that you don't even really need to menu anymore. You can just type where you want to go and it'll bring it up. We talked a little bit about REST. This is the newest way to do web services. It's fast and it's easy, and there's a 100% compatibility now in PeopleTools, which is just awesome. Support for long passphrases. So PeopleSoft had a limitation on the number of characters you could have for your password, and now I want to say it's like 64 characters or something, quite a bit longer. So you can now use passphrases. The security folks believe and know that passphrases tend to be better than really complex passwords, just because they're longer and harder to guess and easy to memorize. So there's some other things there. I don't need to read them all. Just know that there have been a lot of enhancements in the latest PeopleTools version. Next, we're going to look at FSCM, image 47. You can see there was quite a bit that happened with being able to create business units for billing, for asset management, for maintenance management. This is all really good stuff and helps with the way that you organize your PeopleSoft deployment and increases the ability to integrate between modules. You can see that there are a number of changes in here, like with asset management, enhanced review depreciation component with related content. So they're trying to make the system more usable, more friendly, make it easier for your people to do their jobs. This is the benefit, one of the big benefits of ensuring that you're regularly doing a Get Me Current with your PeopleSoft infrastructure. So HCM 46 was just released very recently, and you can see they've now deployed the Redwood theme across all of the HCM modules with image 46. They've made some changes to help HR administrators better understand what's going on during open enrollment, worksheets to make data entry easier, addressing configuration, making things easier for people to do their own work, which is fantastic. I really love the bottom one here, component lockdown framework. So this is the idea that you can make it so that you can't change aspects of the employee record while a payroll is running. Now, this is huge because if you've ever been in that situation where someone locks up payroll and everyone has to stop what they're doing to go in and do this because we want to make sure that everyone gets paid. This is a great enhancement because now you can define this on a schedule, and certainly when payroll's processing, you can just lock these components out so that people can't make changes that are going to cause problems. With Campus Solutions, you can see they've done a lot with Fluid, most recently introducing drop zones to self-service. That's huge. A whole webinar could be had about ways to be able to move your customizations into various approved approaches that PeopleSoft won't think that they are customizations. So this is huge and really awesome. You can see there have been some changes for recruiting, changes with student records and academic advising, lots of good stuff. And really, all we've talked about here are the enhancements. We didn't talk about the features and enhancements. We didn't talk about bug fixes and places where they improve performance. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Cloud Manager 15. Cloud Manager has really come into its own at this point, It is a very solid reason to look at Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And it's got all of the automation that you would expect. You can use Cloud Manager to make PeopleSoft do the things that you would expect it to do, like scaling and doing so automatically, stopping and starting instances, ensuring that you have consistent configuration across all of a type of instance. This is all really big, awesome stuff. We could have a whole webinar on Cloud Manager. So ultimately, the best practices for utilizing new features. The PeopleSoft team would tell you it's important to stay informed. You can stay informed by attending webinars. You can stay informed by looking at PeopleSoftInfo.com. You can stay informed by engaging with user groups and communities. You can stay informed by having a partner by your side, a PeopleSoft partner that can help you with your challenges and just be a sounding board. One of the things that Astute offers regularly is a package, we call it Flex Support, where it's just a package of hours that you can buy, and we're there when you need us. You just give us a call, and we're kind of there on retainer, and it burns down some hours, and you have what you need. You really want to conduct a solid impact analysis. This is something that you can do with the latest PeopleSoft Update Manager. Actually, it's been there for quite a while, but a lot of people don't use it. They just do compare reports. There are so many things that you can do with the tools that have been provided to you if you'll just take advantage of them. So next, we're going to talk about expert advice for successful migration to OCI. So tips and tricks for a successful OCI migration. And a lot of this you've already seen. I've helped a lot of people contemplate and move to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And all of these migrations are similar in that you go through a similar process. Now, some customers are huge and super complex, and some are smaller and simpler, but everyone has to go through these steps. You have to assess your environment. You have to understand your resources and what you can put where. You can do it on your own, but a lot of those projects struggle. So I would strongly urge you to engage a partner, whether it's Astute or someone else. One of the great things that Astute does is we offer a free 2-hour workshop where we'll come in and we can talk about cloud for 2 hours and answer your questions. Talk about what your deployment on cloud would look like. We can even help price out what you could expect to spend on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and we can help you with a business case if that's what you wanted. From there, you need to plan and design, look at how you're going to optimize, determine your migration strategy, get your security folks in early and fast, and test and validate, train, and of course, monitor and optimize. So conversely, some common mistakes to avoid with your PeopleSoft to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure project. Insufficient planning. I think we talked about insufficient planning and how that leads to time overruns and cost overruns. Not totally understanding compatibility checks. That's probably a subset of insufficient planning. Poor data migration strategy, again, can be attributed to insufficient planning. I'm going to skip a couple and just go down to this about not leveraging Oracle support. I understand that it can sometimes be a pain to work with Oracle support, but by doing so, you're informing the teams of what you're experiencing and what's going on, and you're helping other people. And if you get a partner involved, or you get some of your Oracle reps involved, they can help escalate and get you the help that you need. Oracle is very invested and very interested in seeing PeopleSoft customers succeed on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Finally, another common mistake is just not leveraging a partner. As I mentioned on the previous slide, people try to go it alone and then they make mistakes, or they make assumptions about what they think should work, and it just doesn't work the way they wanted, and then they're frustrated, or it doesn't work the way they assumed and they're frustrated. Bringing a partner in for this sort of thing can really help you rationalize and think about your deployment, what it's going to look like, how it needs to be, so that you don't have those kind of surprising moments. So best practices for migration testing and support, all kinds of testing. You need to do functional testing, you need to do performance testing, you need to do end-to-end testing and user acceptance testing. You need to do security access control testing. All of these types of testing are critical, and you shouldn't wait until the very end of your project to do them. They should be done as soon as any reasonable piece is ready. You should jump in and do those tests. You need a process for handling incidents and how you're going to support them. You want to make sure that you have good documentation. We talked about that. There's a lot of optimization that can be done on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure with the monitoring that is there for free. There are also some really great paid tools on OCI. Don't shortchange yourself in this area. This is something that we often encourage customers to look at. Look at what Oracle has done to help you understand your environments and take advantage of it. And finally, user training and communication. Can't stress enough the importance of communicating and ensuring that your users understand where they're going. So all of these things, lots of lists today, lots of high-level anecdotal advice as far as how to migrate or how to modernize your PeopleSoft environments. We at Astute Business Solutions would love to have the opportunity to do a deep dive on any of these topics with you. You can feel free to reach out to us at any time. We're available on most of the social media platforms. We also have a website, beastute, beastute.com. And we'd love to hear from you, and we thank you for taking the time to watch this and hope that you learned something valuable. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.